The NHL regular season is underway, so it's once again time for some predictions. Today I'm going to give you my thoughts and predictions on the NHL standings for the full 23-24 NHL season, and that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're doing some more predictions to kick off the NHL 23-24 campaign. Of course, in the last day or so, we've put up another video, the 32 bold predictions for the 23-24 season. Those predictions, some of them were team related, a lot of them were individual player related. If you haven't had a chance to check that out, I encourage you to watch it. It'll be linked in the YouTube cards up there. I'd love to know your thoughts and your thoughts on my predictions and what yours are so we can compare and discuss, of course, in the comment section. Now, these are going to be my predictions for the standings for the upcoming season. Again, just so we're clear, this is just for fun. I know predictions are extremely hard, and first, another thing to think about here is a lot of these teams, there's a lot of parity in the league. It's very close, and I had a tough time making decisions. I flip-flopped, went back and forth a few times. I've got my list. I've got a finalized version of this. And to be honest, it's not easy. And I expect to get a decent amount of these wrong. I'm probably going to do another video looking back at last year's predictions to see how we did between the standings and the bold predictions and that type of thing. But this is just for fun. So again, if you think differently than my predictions, that's totally fine. You're welcome to your opinion. Leave some comments. Just be respectful. I don't want to see any comments calling anybody stupid or idiots or anything of that nature because of their opinion on where teams are going to finish this year. So let's get into it. Leave yours in the comments. We can talk about it as a community. I'd love to know what everybody thinks, and your feedback is more than welcome, regardless of what it is. So let's start in the Western Conference. Let's start with the Central Division first. This one I thought was a little bit easier to do. I kind of felt there was two elite teams in this division, one kind of middle of the road solid playoff team, and then there's a group of 4 or 5 teams that it's hard to peg where they're going to be and how they're going to finish, and some of those teams could go either way, and there's a few that I expected to be at the bottom. So here we go. Finishing in last place in the Central Division, I have the Chicago Blackhawks. I know Connor Bedard is going to be a huge hit. I expect him to have a huge season, but it's not enough. Chicago, unfortunately, is still going to be near the bottom of the standings. There's some young, exciting talent on the team besides Bedard, but not very much, and I think they're going to struggle in a variety of ways and still be at the bottom. Next up, in the 7th spot, we get the St. Louis Blues. To be completely honest, I wouldn't be shocked if the Blackhawks give them a run and maybe even finish ahead of the Blues. I don't have high expectations for this team. As I've talked about in the season preview, this is largely the same team as last year, with the exception of a couple of faces, including Kevin Hayes and Sundqvist came back. But ultimately, there's not a lot there that's different. So how should we expect different results? I expect Jordan Binnington to possibly lose a starting goaltending job this year. And I think this team needs more of a reset than what it's had. I think the coach, Craig Berube, might be in trouble this year. I just don't expect great things. It's hard to imagine after last year not having a great year. I know they traded off some talent like O'Reilly, Tarasenko, Barbashev, and they get decent returns, but a lot of that is more for later than it is for now. Like I said, outside of bringing in Hayes, they get the same starting goaltender, you get the same top 6 defense, and you've got 11 out of 13 forwards the same. I'm not expecting anything different. Next up, we've got the Arizona Coyotes. I got them finishing 6th. I wouldn't be shocked if they rival up another spot and maybe finish 5th, but I put them in 6th for today. The Coyotes are much improved. They added a lot of NHL talent. They get some young, exciting players, but they're still not enough to get into the playoffs. In my bold prediction video, one of the predictions I made was that they'd be in meaningful games at least till March. And I stand by that. I think the Coyotes are going to have a better than expected season. The talent they've accumulated through free agency mostly, and the young talent they were able to get into the lineup will be fun to watch. They will have more wins than last year, but still a ways to go. Next up in 5th place, I've got the Nashville Predators. Again, a retooling team. We saw them move on from some veterans like Duchesne and Johansson. Brought in some other veterans like O'Reilly, for example. This team, I think, will struggle to get into the playoffs, but again, like Arizona, I think they'll be in the mix until later in the campaign, but with at least a few weeks to go, teams like Arizona and Nashville will start to fall out of the race. I don't know. They do have a world-class goaltender with UC Saros, which will get them probably more wins than they should otherwise. But otherwise, I think this team is going to be mediocre at best this year. In fourth place, I've got the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets just signed Scheifele and Hellebuck. They seem to be quite content with that moving forward. They got a good return on Pierre-Luc Dubois to give them a more balanced lineup. As much as it hurts to lose a high-end player like Dubois, the players that they got from that trade will be in various roles throughout the forward group. I expect a big season of development from Cole Perfetti. Their blue line's pretty decent. You got a great goaltender in Hellebuck. I think they're going to be a bubble team for a wild card spot. Right now, based on these standings, I do have them kind of getting in, but not by much. They'll get in by just squeaking there by a hair at the last minute. But going to have a tough season. Otherwise, I think we'll see some more moves over the next few years to make that team better. But for right now, that's probably the best they can do. Third place, I've got the Minnesota Wild. This team has a lot to like, but it is a team that's a lot of their key players are getting a little bit older. We saw Billy Guerin re-sign some key veterans. They're going to get them to their later years. But again, I think they have good goaltending with Fleury and Gustafsson. They have a decent blue line, some good scoring. And I think there's lots to like. And I think that, for the most part, they can be a top 3 team because they're better than the bottom 5 here at the end of the day. I don't think Minnesota's an elite team. I think they're kind of stuck in that mushy middle. I'm not sure I really, really like the direction of the team, but for right now, they're good enough for at least next little while to be in the playoffs. Number 2, I have the Dallas Stars. The Dallas Stars have a bit of everything to like. They have elite goaltending. They have a pretty solid blue line. They have some high-end scoring. We've seen some good progression from Jake Ottinger, Heiskanen, Hintz, Jason Robertson, go down the list. All their young talents been picking up the pieces here, and then it's been helping the veterans contribute as well. So to me, I really like the Dallas Stars. There's lots to like there. I think they will rival the Avalanche for the division championship, or division lead, division title, should say. And they will be a team that's in the playoffs and a damage doer in the playoffs too. Like, I can see them winning at least a few rounds for sure. And I have the Avalanche finishing first place. Obviously, a year removed from winning the Stanley Cup. They're coming back, trying to get that cup back in their possession. I do like some of the moves they've made. I do like the idea of Jonathan Drouin coming on board back with his former junior teammate Nathan McKinnon. Hopefully they can get Nichushkin back and healthy. He's expected to hopefully resume where he had left off before he vacated the team last year in the playoffs. They've got some real good talent there. They made some other good additions this year, including Ross Colton, Ryan Johansson, solid blue line, good goaltender. I really like this team. I think they're one of the top probably 5 teams to be a threat to win the cup. So those are your Central Division standing predictions. Jumping over to the other Western Conference division, here are my thoughts on the Pacific. Last place, I have the San Jose Sharks in 8th. The Sharks I have as last place in the entire league. There's not much there to like in most positions. A little bit of flair up front. You're going to see probably another year of maybe some more veterans leaving town. Overall, it's just a team that's going through a transition, and they will be at the bottom of the league, or at least the bottom couple teams for sure. In 7th place, I have the upstart Anaheim Ducks. I think they're going to win a few more games than last year, but still got a long ways to go. Obviously, you're going to see big year development from Trevor Zegras, Jamie Drysdale. Troy Terry's got a new contract. We'll see what Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish can do. Lots of young talent there. Be curious to see how this team makes out. I don't expect a ton of wins just because they're so young and so raw, but they're certainly going to be fun to watch and difficult to play against considering some of the bruisers they've brought in. In 6th place, I've got the Vancouver Canucks. I don't have the Canucks getting into the playoffs. Not to say that they're not going to be a good team, but this division is tough. It's gotten a lot better in the last couple of years. And at this point, I just don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, their blue line to me is not great. They have Quinn Hughes. And after that, there's a drop off. I mean, Philip Hronik's decent second pair guy, but a lot of the guys they brought in this year in the offseason, to me, are all kind of third pair guys. They need a little bit more higher end talent in that blue line to be more of a threat for playoffs. Demko can only get you so many wins. We heard that Connor Garland wants out, so that could be a distraction to make a trade here. I don't know if that'll materialize or not. I just don't know there's enough talent there to get any higher in the standings. And in 5th place, I've got the Seattle Kraken. I do have the Kraken taking a little bit of a step back this year. Last year, they had so many things go right that it's hard to imagine that's going to happen exactly again. That team is going to be good. It's got a good base, good depth throughout the lineup. But again, I just don't know that they're going to win enough games to get in the playoffs. I think we can see the kind of, I wouldn't call it a sophomore jinx because it kind of feels that way because they took a big step forward last year and got in the playoffs for the first time. I don't see them taking a major step back, but at this point, even 6-7 points could mean the difference between getting in versus not. In 4th place, I've got the Calgary Flames. They got a new head coach, an upstart, group of guys that are ready to bounce back after getting rid of Daryl Sutter and all the negativity on that team. Jonathan Huberdeau, ready to bounce back. You've got Mikael Backlund, ready and with a new contract. We'll see what the future holds for Lindholm and Hanifin. Tanev, either way, they're playing for a contract, whether that be in Calgary or elsewhere. Jacob Markstrom's posed for a big year. At least he should be. At the end of the day, you've got some good youth in Calgary getting an opportunity as well. I don't know that the Flames are going to be a top team. I don't think they're going to be at the top of this division, but I do think they'll win enough games to get in the playoffs in the 4 seed. Number 3, I've got the LA Kings. I like lots to like about the Kings, except I really worry about their goaltending. And in my bold predictions, I had made that they're going to probably in the first couple months of the season make a goaltending trade to get an upgrade in the starting goaltender position. If they don't, I have serious concerns. I mean, you can have all the great forwards and D all you want. If you can't keep the puck out of your net, that's a problem. And Cam Talbot has been extremely shaky and unreliable. I don't know that he's a starting goaltender. Phoenix Copley doesn't really have much experience in that role except for some short stretches last year. I'm concerned about that, and to me, it's such an important spot that unless they make a trade, I don't see them going any higher than 3rd. And to be honest, if they don't make a trade, I can see them falling back further, even with all the rest of the talent they have in that team. Number 2, I've got the Vegas Golden Knights. The Stanley Cup champions will be in 2nd place. Certainly pretty much the same team coming back as last year. Hopefully stay healthy. They will hopefully have a little bit of a Stanley Cup hangover, which is pretty common after having a deep run last year. But this team will be a force to be reckoned with, be real solid, get in the playoffs. Definitely a team you want to avoid if you can. But 2nd place is where I have them because I have the Edmonton Oilers in 1st place this year after having another strong season. It'll be one of their best seasons since the 80s. Jay Woodcroft is going to be a contender for Coach of the Year. Connor McDavid's going to do some even more crazy things this year stat-wise and raise his level of game again. And I just think the Oilers are going to be an unstoppable force. So that is your Pacific Division standings. The Oilers finishing on top with Vegas and LA in 2nd and 3rd, and Calgary being in a wild card spot. Over to the Eastern Conference in your Metro Division. Let's start with the last place team, which to me is going to be Columbus. Columbus and Philly both are going to be 7-8 here. They're going to rival for the bottom. I don't expect a lot out of either team. I think they want to be near the bottom, to be honest, to get another high draft pick. Columbus has been accumulating a lot of good young talent. I do expect them to be way better in a few years, but for right now, I just don't see how they're going to be anything more than near the bottom of the standings. The same with the Philadelphia Flyers. They have some veteran guys coming back that haven't played in a while, like Couturier and Atkinson. Maybe they'll surprise us. I have my doubts, though. Number 6, I have the Washington Capitals. The Capitals, to me, are an aging team that have a few good players that are going to have some good bounce-back years. Ovechkin's going to be good as always. This team can do much better than they were last year. They did make a few changes, but I don't know. I think this team is going to be about the same as last year. In 5th place, I've got the New York Islanders. Again, pretty much the same team as last year. Not much change from Lula and Murillo. And again, like Washington, it's going to be about the same. We've seen all the teams around them getting better in the top of this division, where the Islanders and the Capitals have not. So they're going to be pretty much in limbo there. In 4th place, I've got the Pittsburgh Penguins, who obviously made a huge change and added Erik Karlsson, made some other changes as well throughout the team. Kyle Dubas has done some good things there. I expect him to be better offensively. But again, bringing back the same goaltender who's had inconsistency issues and injury problems, I have concerns. If they run into that again, I don't care how good your team is, like I said about LA, it's going to be harder to go much higher in the standings. But this is a team that's determined to get back to playoffs. Crosby is a guy that's tough to bet against. especially when you've assembled that kind of talent around them. I have them getting into 4th place, and the top 4 teams is going to be close here too. Number 3, I've got the New York Rangers. The Rangers are going to be a team that's definitely going to be a top 3 team and be in the playoffs. Again, made a few changes, but for the most part, a lot of the same top guys. Added Blake Wheeler. Be curious to see how the kids do, if you see progress out of Kako, Hedel, Lafreniere. Obviously Jonathan Quick as a backup goaltender concerns me. He hasn't been that great. And they need to be able to give Igor some rest sometimes and get some wins out of that spot. And I don't know that he can do that. So I think that, in my opinion, 3rd is the best they can do. Number 2, I'm going with the Carolina Hurricanes, who analytically is probably one of the favorite teams to win the Stanley Cup. I look at this team, though, and I say, okay, look at what they did last year. Look, they didn't really add anything substantial besides Dmitry Orlov on the back end. Forward-wise, it's pretty well largely the same group. Great team. Again, I think they're going to be neck and neck with the Devils, who I have as number 1 in this division. New Jersey, again, added Tyler Toffoli. They're going to have a full year of Luke Hughes. They got some of these other kids making good progress as well. I really think the Devils are going to be the cream of the crop of this division for some time. Carolina's right there with them. They'll be the top 2 teams in the division, in my opinion. So there is your Metro standings, with the Devils and Canes battling it out for a top spot, with the Rangers in 3rd, and Pittsburgh probably grabbing a wild card spot. And lastly, let's look at the Atlantic Division, one of the more interesting ones across the NHL here. Last place, I've got the Montreal Canadiens. Still another big year of development for the Habs. Lots of great young players, lots of interesting prospects, but you're not going to get too much higher in the standings. Goaltending isn't there. Decor-wise, they have a few good defensemen, but a lot of them are still growing and learning and getting better. They're going to be a fun team at times with Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. Lots to like about some of that group and the forward group as well. But again, I think it's another year of being low in the standings and developing. Number 7, I have Detroit. I'm not fond of a lot of the Detroit moves. We'll see if the Yzer plan proves me wrong here. But I don't know that we're going to see a big step out of Detroit. I know there's been some frustration with the lack of progress there. I think it's fair to say after 5 years that Yzerman has a bit of pressure on him. I wonder about Derek Lalonde behind the bench going into year 2. Some of the moves they make, to me, it's not like they're not adding good players. They just, to me, don't have a lot of high-end talent. We haven't seen DeBrincat Larkin click in the preseason. Doesn't mean they won't in the regular season. It takes time. But I'm not sure DeBrincat's going to be any better than he was in Ottawa. And to me, he was good. He's just not, at this rate, it's hard to imagine him being that 40-goal guy. But I will say that he'll have a better opportunity to do that in Detroit than he did in Ottawa. So maybe DeBrincat surprises us and gets back to that form. But I don't know if that's going to be enough. I still think they're going to struggle to go any higher in the standings. The next 2 spots, 5, 6, I actually have the 2 teams in Florida, with Tampa and Florida. And that's going to be surprising. It's going to be a hot take by some, controversial to some. I think both Florida teams are taking a step back this year. In Florida with the Panthers, I don't see them getting consistent goaltending out of Bobrovsky. They're without Montour and Ekblad the first 2 months of the year. They barely squeaked into the playoffs last year. And I just don't know that there's enough there to get them back in. If they have a slow start, which could happen, it could be the end of the playoff hopes. We've seen it happen to teams numerous times. In Tampa, you've got Vasilevsky out for the first 2 or 3 months of the year. An aging core. Yes, some of those core players are not aging, but some of them are. And I just don't know. I mean, I think defensively they've been weakened gradually over the past 2-3 years. And they're just not, when they were winning Stanley Cups a few years ago, this is not the same team. And I don't know. If they run into any more injuries, it's going to be tough to get much more than that. Like, as a bold take, I'll gladly eat my words if I'm wrong, but I have both Florida teams missing the playoffs. In 4th place, I've got the Buffalo Sabres. The Sabres are taking a big step forward this year, and they're going to be a playoff team. Devin Levi will backstop them to great success this year. They have tons of young talent. They just missed last year, and this year they're going to get over the hump. They have pretty well the same team. There wasn't a whole lot of change in Buffalo this year, and I have them going as a wild card team. They'll be neck and neck with the 3rd place team, which I have as the Ottawa Senators. And at this rate, if the Sens don't get Shane Pinto signed the next few days, if he misses an extended time and Josh Norris doesn't get in this lineup, then I'm probably going to be wrong on this one. But I think if the Sens are fully signed and healthy, they can be a top 3 team based on my prediction of the Florida teams taking a step back. Maybe that'll be reversed and maybe I'll be totally wrong here, but I think that can happen. I think the Sens have solid goaltending with Forsberg and Korpisalo. Their decor is as best it's been in a long time. A full year of Jacob Chychrun, another big year for Jake Sanderson, who just inked a long-term deal. You're going to see Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle take another big step forward. Claude Giroux steady as ever, but they need their centerman there to help guys like Kubalik and Batherson and Tarasenko meet their production goals as well. So that will be the big tale if I'm going to be right or not, is how that center position works out in the next little bit. And we'll know quick too. Number 2, I have the Boston Bruins. I think the Bruins were going to take a step back, but they can take a huge step back and still be having a great season compared to last year. So yes, there's no Krejci, no Bergeron, no Taylor Hall, no Nick Foligno, but there's still lots to like. They have an upstart youngster, Matthew Poitras, and going to be a top 6 centerman. We'll see how that works out. And I did predict that Boston would figure out a way to trade for a more legit top 6 center early in the season or midway through the season as well. So if that comes true, it's definitely going to happen. But the goaltending and defense alone will win them a lot of games, in my opinion. In the first place, I've got the Maple Leafs, best offense in the Eastern Conference. Goaltending, a bit of a question mark, but between Samsonov and Wall, I have confidence that they will get the job done and ultimately be very helpful there. The decor is the area that I'm going to see Brad Treliving probably focus on the most, and I don't think the decor they're going to start the year with will be the decor that goes into the playoffs. I'm not sure how quickly. It might be a progress all throughout the year. Maybe it's mostly at the deadline. I don't know. But I like their forward group a lot. I like their goaltending. I just think they need to improve their defense if they're going to have a legit chance of going deeper in the playoffs this year. But they'll have another great regular season as they have in the last few years and be at the top of the division. So that is your Atlantic Division predictions for all those teams, with Toronto, Boston, Ottawa, and the Sabres getting into the playoffs this year. So again, that might be a bit of a hot take. Time will tell. I don't mind eating my words if I'm wrong. We'll see when we look back at the end of the year. So for now, that's all your predictions. Lots of other predictions already made in the other video, the 32 bold predictions. Check that out if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments so we can talk about it and see what everybody thinks here. And again, let's have a fun season. Glad that hockey's back. And let's enjoy the content here. Be tons of videos coming every day on the channel. So if you're new, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you stick around. This is the place to be to get all your updates and NHL news and lots of great community to chat with while doing so. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.